Well, hello and welcome to the TGIF trade right here in Lagos, Nigeria. We'll be tracking what's playing out with most of the markets here. Here's what's coming up. Well, it's still earnings season and big Nigerian banks are reporting. We'll drill down on the latest earnings. And South Africa and United States agree on a roadmap for trade talks. Plus, UAE slams a visa ban on Uganda starting 2026. It's great to have you join us. I'm Ladi Williams. Let's get a quick check on what's playing out with the markets that we track now. We're seeing oil prices edge lower today after big falls in the last session over concerns about possible softening of U.S. demand and a broad oversupply that offset worry about supply disruptions from conflicts in the Middle East and the war in Ukraine. Brent crude futures saw that traded down about 30 cents. It was trading lower earlier today. It's at $66.07 a barrel, while we see the WTI, that's trading at $62.90. 1.05% drop there. Hopefully, we don't erase the week's gains. It's supposed to be getting a weekly gain for this week, but we're seeing big drops already for this final trading day. Let's look at metals now. I see gold prices ticked higher in Asian trade today, remaining on track for their fifth consecutive weekly rise as the U.S. Federal Reserve lowered interest rates earlier this week. And we see it's mostly green across the board. Just palladium there, the laggard, 1.02% down at $1,175 per ounce. We see platinum, that's unchanged there. Spot silver, $42.41 per ounce, 0.7%. And U.S. gold futures, that's for the good, 0.2% up, $3,683. Spot gold, that's at 0.2%, $3,650. So the yellow metal fell about 1.3% in previous two sessions as the dollar rebounded from over three yellows after U.S. Fed Chair Jerome Powell struck a cautious tone regarding the future of easing. All right, now let's get straight to what's playing out with the earnings. You know, we're getting now for the big banks, and definitely when the big banks start releasing earnings, the markets will definitely react. Joining us to unpack what's playing out now, we have Mr. Mukhtar Mohammed. He's the CEO, Finance of Mukhtar, to help us unpack the latest earnings coming out from the banking sector. Great to have you, sir.
Thank you, my pleasure, Ladi.
Fantastic. So there we have it, the latest one now. We see earnings per share there. That's 19.96% up year on year. That's for gross earnings, interest income, 1.83 trillion, up 60% year on year. Interest expenses, 484.5 billion, up 11.55% year on year. And definitely, you know, when these earnings come out, we need strong eyes like yours to help us read between the lines to see what's playing out. So how are you seeing this result so far?
Larry, you see the gross ending. I mean, for me, it's fantastic, about 19.96% year on year.
Right.
That is fantastic. That's 2.521 trillion. That's, 19.96. You know, the cash, that's about gross earning. Interest income, Larry, that's what interests me more.
Right.
1.839 trillion plus. That's 60%. And you know, the exciting thing about this interest income is their core business. Is you see an improvement from where they are. Loan and advancement. That was really what really boosted income interest. Income expensive. Okay, if you look at income interest, then you look at income expensive. You see that income interest is about 60.01, and
right.
This shows that they actually be able to maximize in terms of customer base. That's another exciting thing about them. Their customer base also increased. So net interest, you can look at it also. Fantastic result.
89.45% up year on year.
Fantastic.
Right. So, you know, looking at the results so far, what's it, you know, saying about what's playing out with financial services, most of the tier one banks, you know, for H1?
Larry, we've seen Zenith coming out with the result, and we saw the other UBA come out with the results, and we've seen no similarity in terms of when you see the profits after tax, see the growth earning and everything, they are far well apart. So, but let you concentrate on them. What is it telling us? You just brought in the earning per share. That's for me and as an investor.
Right.
That's what excites me more.
Yeah.
Because it's from here that I'll be paid.
Right.
And you can see a bank that is having an earning per share lower by 29.66%, yet increasing its earning, increasing its dividend payout from 1 naira to 125 crore. That excites me. That's 25% increment on my dividend payout for interim dividend. That's the first time they are doing that. Normally it's 1 naira. So that means your interim dividend has increased by 25%. That is huge. Like we talked about loan and advancement customers. You can see that decline a little bit. But again, cash and cash equivalent, you can see that it increased by 13.07. That means the bank is very, very liquid. Total assets, largely 30.93. That is largely driven by customer base, customers. So that tells you they are in the core area of their businesses. Though their investment that comes into out of the gross earning. Now, customer deposit, largely 23.43 trillion, increment of 6.94%. So that tells you they are definitely improving in their core area of expertise. It's their core area of business. Before now, we see that a lot of banks get their revenue from just treasury bills and bonds. But now we are seeing where your main revenue is coming from your core area of specialized. And it can only get better when you look at the loan advancement and what they've been able to achieve in a 6-month period. Don't forget, we shouldn't forget that at the beginning of this, at the second quarter, at the beginning of first quarter of this year, we were made to understand that because of the forbearance issue, banks will not be able to pay dividend. And Zenith Bank was one of those banks that was mentioned at that time that could have challenges paying dividend for the next 2 years. And here we are, we're seeing a dividend of increment of 25%. Thumb up to the management team for
right. Quite an impressive one. But definitely with all these results, there are always the parts that seem to be a point of worry. At this point, which parts would you say are worrisome for you looking at the result?
And Larry, the other part you've seen a little worrisome, and that also will be tied to the economy issues that we are seeing in the land, and that their risk management level is very, very efficient. Loan and advancement to customers, you see a decrease by minus 3 points. So that, I'm sure they're standing up, they're looking at the volatile macroeconomic environment. So trying to look at the risks in terms of borrowing too much, because again, they are concentrating more on their core area. So that, for me, is just my own take, one of those challenging points. But again, if you look at it, minus 3 points, that is not necessarily that huge. Like if we would have been seeing like 40% of it. But that tells you they have a strong risk management team looking at the macroeconomic headwind and making plans, advancement, trying to minimize the kind of losses that we would see through loan and advancement to customers.
Right. So definitely we know the economy has a way of dampening business and all of that. We're expecting the MPC to make a rate decision coming next week. And most of the time, you believe higher interest rates. When rates are higher, that's good for the banks. Mm-hmm. I want to believe expectation that we might see rate cuts. Coming. What are you seeing? How are you seeing that play into financial services?
If a rate cut comes in, that's why I say they're interested in their core area, and you could see that expansion in terms of areas, like in terms of loan advancement, like we've talked about. You've seen also the expansion into also bonds and treasury bill. Within a 6-month period, you see an increment there of about 78%. So when you look at that, then again, you are seeing a bank that is positioned already to absorb any shock. Shareholder form, Ladi, that's one thing nobody is looking at. If you look at the shareholders form have increased to 4.57 trillion. That is huge. That is huge. And then they recapitalize bit. They've improved their recapitalization. CBN is saying recapitalization of 500 billion. Zenith Bank has gone as high as making the recap about 612-point-something billion. So that tells you that the bank that's highly capitalized and then will be able to absorb any shock. Like I said, their risk management issue is key to what the kind of result you are seeing here now. Then you look at for investors. Investors that had yesterday that result was released. Investors that have made about 45.1% already on the share of Zenith Bank. That is also very, 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 very huge. Right. So definitely headwinds may come in, like you talk about the interest rate, but you can see a bank that is diversified in terms of preparing itself for its headwinds with enough liquidity. That is why you can see a bank with an earning of 12 naira 99 kobo, negative of almost 30%, still increasing your dividend payout by 25%. That tells you a bank that is well-oiled, well-managed, have a lot of reserve to absorb any shocks that comes in.
Right. And What is this telling us about, the international business? Because they also, operate in other countries.
Yeah, we didn't see that here. If you look at their FS gain also, it was huge. And that tells you the international branches are seems to be bringing in the funds. Well, but you could see that again, they are improving. They are not really opening new branches. They are rather solidifying their international branch. Shouldn't forget that of recent, they are a major city of the world. I think they are in Paris. They've opened a branch in Paris. They are in New York. So definitely in terms of the international business, I think they are doing very, very well. And like I said, they have already improved, they have already scaled the CBN recapitalization drive. That also we could see Zenith Bank expanding. Remember, Zenith Bank is also in China. They had that. They are one of the big players in China.
And we do a lot of business with China.
Exactly. So they are already stationed in China. So when you look at Nigeria and China, you know China is the home of every Nigerian businessman. And you could also see that customers are very impressed. That you see the improvement in terms of their customer base was improved by about 23.something%. That is huge. And that tells you that Nigerians are more now banking with Zenith Bank, especially the retail side of Zenith Bank. We're made to understand before that Zenith Bank is just for the corporates. But now we are seeing an improvement, and Zenith Bank is outgoing there, getting more people into depositing their funds with them. That is a confidence in them.
It's funny how, narratives can sometimes lock a company where they don't want to be, locked. But, definitely we've seen H1 now. What is this telling us? We need forward guidance. What's H2 going to look like?
Ladi, I'm excited about H2 because already, if I'm already seeing a 25% hike in dividend payment. I talk like an investor. And so if you talk from the place of investor, then you are looking at, will that be a 25% in the final dividend payout? That also will be huge compared to what they paid last year. And you have to say it again, the management team said that they were going to actually improve the dividend payout. And I think they've started it this year. They've started it positively, marking their word with action. No, what do I expect? I expect an improvement. Because what you see in terms of Zenith Bank performance, all through the years, you see that the final 2 quarters are always stronger than the first 2 quarters. So when you go to buy the antecedent, you cannot but expect that the final 2 quarters of this year will be stronger than what we've seen. And that, again, we might begin to see the type of, in terms of improvement in earning per share, improvement in gross earning. Gross earning increased by 19.something%. But like I said, if you look at their result, if you follow the trend of Zenith Bank, performance towards the last half year is always more impressive than the first half of the year.
Okay. Well, I guess we're here now, and at the end of the year, I'm sure we'll get the H2 as into 2026. Definitely we'll see how this whole sector, plays out. We're expecting more earnings, coming out, and definitely I know you help us unpack them, as they come. Thank you so much, Mr. Mukhtar Mohammed, CEO, Finance with Mukhtar. Thank you for coming on today.
My pleasure.
TGIF. All right, so definitely a lot playing out right there in the markets, and we'll be bringing you all of those details as they come. All right, let's bring you some other stories now. See President Bola Tinubu's renewed hope agenda aimed at boosting the economy through small businesses and improving the livelihood of market women and their families. They've distributed 100,000 naira cash gift to market women in Benin City, the Edo State capital. Take a listen.
The urban market in Benin City, the Edo State capital, is the first stop for the team with its Market Women Empowerment Package.
Senator, Governor, Sef, and our President, somebody will come here. Yes. To go empower una. Yeah, Governor, when you go to talk to, you go to look your stomach whether you don't eat. All what we don't suffer before, it don't be over now.
It's straight to the point, as beneficiaries, one after the other, receive a cash gift of 100,000 naira each.
On behalf of our Siwaju and our governor, we present to you a cash support. We call it market money. A cash support of 100,000.
But it's not all about women.
The only time they give me today, I happy when I go bless them with our governor. Now God will bless them where tomorrow I will take that money back aging.
At New Benin Market, more petty traders, including a bread seller, also feel the impact of President Bola Tinubu's Renewed Hope Agenda Empowerment Program.
I think I enjoy to do my business. My business will increase. I think I say my rate will increase in Jesus' name. God will bless all of you now in Jesus' name.
The City Boy Movement team explains the purpose of the projects and the strategy adopted to ensure its effectiveness.
You know, we have cases where they give money to a union, and at the end of the day, it doesn't get down to the grassroots. So, Mr. President and the governor gave us the mandate. I'm the DG of the City Boy Movement in Edo State. So we should go into the market, look for those who are vulnerable, those who do not have money to trade, or those who are doing petty business, so that we can support them.
The governor said women, market women, play a vital role in driving the local economy, providing food for the people. Like I earlier said, our president eats food, our governor eats food, our commissioners, the market women, they all eat food. They help to sustain the family by accessing food.
The organizers say this is just the beginning. The plan is for more Nigerians at the grassroots to benefit from the Renewed Hope agenda of the federal and state governments as the team continues its market-to-market visit. Jessica Lugusere.
All right, let's look at other parts of Africa. Now, see, South Africa and the United States have agreed on a roadmap to guide upcoming trade discussions, marking a step towards strengthening economic ties between the two countries. Officials say the framework will outline key areas of cooperation, including market access, investment opportunities, and regulatory alignment. The agreement comes as both nations look to expand trade relations amid global economic uncertainty and shifting supply chains. Meanwhile, South African Reserve Bank has raised its growth forecast for the year to 1.2%, up from 0.9%. The revision was announced at this week's Monetary Policy Committee meeting, where the repo rate was left unchanged at 7%, keeping the prime lending rate steady at 10.5%. Governor Lesaya Kiago noted that the modest upward adjustment comes despite weaker report prospects linked to higher tariffs.
To keep the policy rate unchanged at 7%. 4 members preferred to keep rates on hold, while 2 favored a cut of 25 basis points. Since September last year, we have reduced rates by 125 basis points, and we want to see how this is affecting the economy, how expectations evolve, and how inflation risks are resolved. The forecast has rates easing gradually as inflation returns to the bottom end of the 3 to 6% target range. The MPC emphasizes that stabilizing inflation at 3% rather than 4.5% implies a lower, longer-term level for the policy rate. That said, the rate path from the quarterly projection model remains a broad policy guide. As usual, our decisions will be taken on a meeting-by-meeting basis with careful attention to the outlook, data outcomes, and the balance of risks to the forecast.
All right, let's flip over to the markets now. See markets in Nigeria. That's the NGX. That's opened up negative at intraday, and it's looking quite convincing. 0.28% down. So we're seeing that TGIF trade taking a pause right now. But the Johannesburg Stock Exchange still 105,000, was down 0.14%. Let's look at other markets we track now. We see EGX30 that closed in the green yesterday, 1.22% up. Thursday for the Nairobi Stock Exchange, that's a big pullback. 1.45%, sitting at 175 points for the NSI. Let's get a check now on the Gulf region. Markets in the UAE, those are still trading 6,025 points for Dubai index, up 0.78%. But we see the Abu Dhabi index, that's at 10,129, 0.30%. Up there, that's the picture right there in the UAE. Let's look at the Saudi Arabia, Qatar. This closed in the green. The Tadawul, big move up to close 1.22% yesterday. I'm guessing on the back of the rate cut, from the U.S. Fed there. So they closed nicely, but other markets still open Friday, not looking so good. Then let's look at U.S. now. Stock futures are near flat today, following a winning session that sent indexes to new records as the Federal Reserve's decision to cut interest rate That's set in the mind of investors. But now it is in the green, but not convincing enough to get a green close right there. But I think we have a summary from yesterday's close with Maria Bird.
The U.S. stock market closed on a high note on Thursday after Wednesday's news that there could be an easing on interest rates and that there's more to come throughout the year. Many investors saw this as a positive sign for the U.S. stock market, as the Dow Jones closed up at 0.3%, the S&P 500 closed at 0.5%, and the heavy tech Nasdaq had the highest of the day, ending at 0.9% up. As many investors are still watching to see how the response will end up for the long term, but there's much hope that we could see a stronger return in the U.S. stock market.
Thank you, Maria. Well, in Asia, Japan's benchmark Nikkei 225 pared gains to fall 0.57% today after the Bank of Japan, kept their interest rate, the policy steady at 0.5%, in line with the forecast from a Reuters poll of economists. But the Nikkei, that closed down 0.57%. The Kospi, they're at 0.46% down. And just the marginal green close, there's 1 basis point for the Hang Seng Index. Let's look at other markets we tracked there in Asia, and it's red across board again. Shanghai Composite, 0.30% down. The Nifty 50 closed in the red, but still maintaining 25,000 by 335 points in the green there. But it's a negative close across Asia, and I guess the euphoria of the rate cut fizzling out right there in most of the indexes that we track. But let's flip over to Europe now. Let's talk with Lars Holter right there in Berlin. Hello, Lars. Great to have you.
Good to be with you, Ladi.
So I'm wondering if the euphoria of the cut has also fizzled out in Europe.
It has fizzled out, for the weekend now, as we're heading into the weekend, Ladi. I wish I could give you more exciting news, but as a matter of fact, there is really not much going on. We've seen the DAX trading up and down in the range of about 2 or 3 tenths of a percent, so really moving only fractions today. We have seen some real moves this week, I want to say, mostly, of course, due to the Fed decision, but other than that, there just wasn't any other news that would lead to a broader up or down. And if it is coming, I've said it before, Ladi, and I'll say it again, it's likely going to be a move down. There is still very little optimism in markets in Frankfurt, but today they're just basically flat.
So, Germany has been struggling with an energy crisis for a long time. The country needs more power than it can produce. Now, they're looking towards Africa for help. What can you tell us about the latest plans?
Yes, Ladi, they're certainly interesting. A consortium called Sila Atlantic is planning to import solar and wind-sourced energy from Morocco to alleviate the energy crisis here. The idea, giant solar and wind energy plants in Morocco harvest a lot more energy than would be possible here in Germany. And that's obviously due to the fact that Morocco has 4 to 5 times the amount of sun hours that we have here in the center of Europe. So especially with regards to solar power, the cost is very low. It's very attractive. Obviously, as the more energy you can produce in any given plant, the cheaper it gets per kilowatt hour. With regards to wind now, Morocco actually doesn't have much more than we have in Germany. After all, we have some offshore wind parks that get a lot of blow. But all in all, Morocco could put up plants with a capacity of 15 gigawatt and an annual yield of 26 terawatt hours. And that would be enough to cover around 5% of Germany's energy use.
But, electricity usually doesn't travel well. How would all that solar and wind power, how would I get to Germany?
By cable, actually, it's that easy. Well, it's actually not that easy because we're talking about an undersea cable, 2 of them, as a matter of fact, each with a capacity of 1.8 gigawatt. And those 2 cables would start off in Morocco and then lead to Europe, going along the coast of Spain, Portugal, France, past the English Channel, further past Belgium, the Netherlands, and then finally reach Germany through 2 separate terminals. Now, the cables would each be 4,800 kilometers long, the longest undersea cable in the world. Besides the fact that that would take some time, of course, to set up, that would also be expensive to build. Estimates currently stand at 14.5 billion euros. And mind you, there's rarely ever a project of this size, of course, where the final cost is even remotely where the first estimate stood. So we're talking about major investment, Ladi, but the German government alone has set aside 500 billion euros to invest in infrastructure, and the European Union seems to be on board as well. We're hearing that the bloc might be considering naming this a project of mutual interest and that they're possibly subsidizing it through its Connecting Europe facility. Now, that would include not only financial support, but it could also fast-track the approval process.
All right, I'll definitely keep my eyes on how all of this, develops, getting electricity, from Africa. Thank you so much, Las Holta. Enjoy the weekend.
And you too, Ladi. Have a good one.
Fantastic. Yeah, so let's get a check on what's playing out with the crypto market. Definitely, we're also seeing weakness there. It's red on the screen, $16,261, 0.84% down for Bitcoin. I guess the whole rate cut euphoria, that seems to be dying down, or maybe it's just a sell the news event, at this point. BNB did touch $1,000 for the first time ever. We'll see the pullback there, 0.65%. Ethereum still range trading at $4,521, down 1.36%. So most of the major cryptocurrencies on CoinMarketCap, they will see a pullback for the top 100, maybe some bigger pullbacks for other altcoins at this point. So that's the picture for this TGIF trade right here in Nigeria and most of the markets that we track globally. Hopefully, this gives you direction going into the next trading week next week. Thanks for watching. I'm Ladi Williams. Bye for now.